Well, afternoon, Jules. Beautiful day here in Oxford. Probably not going to last, but
Yeah,
what a weekend, eh? What a weekend.
I there are fewer things that are more wonderful than watching motorcycle racing on Phillip Island.
Yeah,
Although you have to say that watching motorcycle racing on the long circuit of Brands Hatch comes pretty close.
pretty good. And
Oh, and watching motorcycle racing at Herries comes close as well.
that's three pretty good ones. And Oxford United won as well. It was absolutely brilliant weekend. I can really ask for no more. But yeah, so we're
Don't
always
talk about
about.
Liverpool and they're playing tonight. What looks
Oh,
like a very
yeah.
sticky, a very sticky fixture in Europe.
We're at Wrexham tonight, Oxford United. So Hollywood, here we come. So we'll see how they go. Right, back to MotoGP. Well, it was Hollywood, wasn't it? Another first-time winner in MotoGP. Championship was crowned at the World Superbikes and British Superbikes. And
Yep.
we look forward to Malaysia. Memories good and bad. Memories of both Shah Alam. Oh, what a place that was. And of course, Sepang. Well, the socials are going to come any moment now if I can get them up on my phone. But just to let you know, our guest next week, World Superbike, the voice of World Superbike, Mr. World Superbike, Lord Greg Haynes of Superbike Land is going to join us. And that would be really, really interesting because we've got two people. I've looked at World Superbike, obviously through MotoGP rose tinted spectacles.
Mm.
These two, Julian and Greg, have seen it right through all the eras. It's going to be interesting what they say. How's Toprak going to do in MotoGP? We probably have differing opinions there, I would imagine, different sides of the different camps.
I mean,
But also, where does a World Superbike go in the future? And some look back at the wonderful times, of course, very much so with Jules. So right, let's have a look at the socials. I will say we get lots of nice socials. If you want to say something you didn't like or something about us, please don't be shy. We don't think Rich, who controls the whole thing, is shying away from the facts, not letting us know. But we get so many good things. Here we go. Thank you for the fantastic podcast, gents. Great to see the great Dennis Noyce. Best start to my Friday. On a serious note, I hope that Liberty Media ensures that those two-wheel warriors are properly taken care of and that issues like concussion protocols are tightened up along with all the other medical needs so we don't have the problem of riders coming back early and damaging themselves permanently for the future. Yeah, I think they probably will keep a very close eye on that. KRTT 750. I remember seeing you all at Indy. That's obviously Dennis, you and me. Yeah,
yes,
I loved Indy.
it
Look,
was fun.
I
It was fun.
I loved the people. I loved the whole feeling about the place. It was motorsport, and I love the town. I went to American football. We went to baseball there. Everything. Yeah, great place.
I
Really,
think,
really miss it. The only thing that probably let us down a bit was the circuit,
yeah.
wasn't
Well,
it?
for us,
We
us,
didn't have to race it.
yeah, us Europeans,
Yeah.
you're forced to realise that America is not California.
No.
Laguna
No, that's
Seca
exactly
and
right.
that
Yeah.
is a completely sort of fringe activity. And at Indy, you were in the heartland.
Well, it was terrific. And the people who worked there were fantastic.
They
They
were,
understood motorsport.
yeah.
We had lots of fun there. And then there was the Indy Mile to go to see Kenny Roberts and Nicky Hayden. And yeah, miss it a great deal. Right. Barry Rose, 5 days ago. Guys, what's your plans through the winter? Not sure I can wait until next season without your blog. Well, Jules, we have plenty of plans. We are going to carry on through the winter. Let's be honest, two old boys like us, we haven't got anything else to do, have we? No, we are going to carry on, and we got lots of plans. Yeah, well, some obviously we got Greg Haynes, Dr. Martin Rains, who will be back. We got a charming lady who going to talk about the women in racing. She's producing a film along with her brother. She's been to see Tara in Finland. She's got older Gina Buard, and really, really interesting. And we're talking
That's
about women in motorsport, and just
that's an
what the
interesting
future holds.
bit of
Yeah,
that's an interesting bit of work if she's
yeah.
had the budget and gone to the trouble of finding those two,
That's right. And
among others.
She interviewed Tara Rin in Jarno Saarinen's garage in Finland. I mean, there you go. I mean,
That'll do. I want to see the film.
Really no need to say anymore.
I was at Hockenheim when Terry Rini led a Grand Prix.
Yeah,
all those years ago.
That's right. And we remember her well. And
Yeah.
Beryl Swain, the 50cc rider who rode in the TT, was quite a young lad, not a little lad, but quite a young lad, watching sports, whatever it's Sports Report, was it on a Wednesday, BBC television? They did a feature on her riding around the cycle track at Herne Hill.
Oh, blimey.
On the 50cc item, she went and rode in the TT finish, but then they banned women from riding in the World Championships, though you could still be a sidecar passenger, which sort of sums up the era, really.
Yes.
I think we've got to be careful here.
I think, let's say, I'm glad society has moved on, shall we? On
Absolutely, yeah. Right, Cini 555, fantastic episode. Love the insider memories from Dennis. I could have listened all afternoon. 30 minutes was just teasing us. Keep up the great work, boys. And then 5 days ago, right, why only 30 minutes? Question marks. Well, yeah, we need more. Yeah, okay, we'll see what we can do, but we are going to keep going. We might have a week off at Christmas, but
I think that might happen. But apart from that, I think we intend to keep going. And we are the Racing Back podcast, so all sorts of subjects like women in racing.
Yeah, anything.
Please
let us know.
Got the old Gary Dixon T-shirt on. Indianapolis. We should talk more about where are the Americans, what they did. Where the next one's coming from.
Yeah. So please, and one more. This was great. I could listen to you three talk for hours. Hope you have Dennis back soon. We certainly will have a Dennis back soon. I absolutely promise you. As I say, Greg Haynes next week. Him and Jules. I'm just going to settle down and listen. And then Dr. Martin Rains probably just at the end of the season. And then we go from there. We are going to work through the winter. So, right, Malaysia, where do we start? Oh, well, I suppose we start that we had another first-time Grand Prix winner. We had a first-time win for the team. 7 different winners already this season. And the first-time winners on successive races. The future looks bright, doesn't it, Jules?
It does. I mean, back-to-back maiden wins and back-to-back satellite team wins.
Fabulous.
And second place was satellite as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that if Bezecchi didn't have the double lap penalty, he would have won. You could argue that if Di Gianantonio hadn't had a rubbish qualifying, he'd have won. But the bloke who did nothing wrong, and more to the point, everything right, won the race.
Yeah. And great for Trackhouse, American team, winning a MotoGP race. And for the future, very important.
An American team. And it's and the rider, who's sort of the forgotten man. He was a slow burner in Moto3 and Junior World Championships, bit of an Alex Marquez. Then he ripped through Moto2, just missing the title, but breaking Marc Marquez's records for a rookie. And then he's managed to injure himself, at the start of every season since.
Yeah.
And now it's all coming together. And a reminder that if you're fast, you're fast. You don't lose that.
No. It's going to make a very interesting race in Malaysia. Very, very interesting indeed. And
I see the V4 Yamaha is back out.
Yeah, very much so. I get the Fernandez is muddled up, but it's the other one that's coming back to ride the V4 Yamaha. Yeah. So that's always interesting. And what can you say about Malaysia? We're talking about Shah Alam, we're talking about Sepang. Amazing circuit, amazing crowds, amazing weather. I've seen rain, but I've never seen rain like it can rain in Malaysia. Completely wash a whole session, everything, a whole afternoon can disappear. And you usually get thunder and lightning with it as well, don't you?
That's very unprofessional of me. I left my phone on. Do excuse me.
Oh, well, there you go. it's one of the Fernandezes ringing you up. It wants to
Yeah.
know you got the names
It
right.
could be Patrick Fernandez, who's the one I always think of first. But there's one for the oldies.
Yeah. And Moto2, interesting, Manuel Gonzalez and Jose Antonio Rieda, well,
Yeah.
Diogo, sorry, Moreira.
Herrera.
Really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And Manuel Gonzalez and Rieda, sorry, in Moto3. What has
And
he won? 10 races now, hasn't he?
outrageous in that class.
Yeah, yeah.
And an Aussie hometown winner. Almost a
Yes.
replica of the Moto Grand Prix race in that the bloke who did nothing wrong and stayed out of the punch-ups
Yeah.
was allowed to run his race, built a lead. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Terrific stuff. And the Brazilian, Moreira, is coming to MotoGP with the LCR Honda team. And that made me just think back. Oh, we've talked about him before, but Brazil's on the up, isn't it? They've got a rider. They're going back to Guyana. We talked long about Guyana. And Alex Barros, we talked 7 wins, 2-stroke and 4-stroke, Suzuki and Honda. And I'll tell you a little story because a photograph arrived. I call it Twitter, but it's X now, isn't it? With me, very drunk me, with my arm around Eddie Lawson, Paul Fowler, John Brown, somewhere or other, and it was, it appeared, and what have you. It made me think of after race parties, and there's been some, but Kailami, 1992. I remember finding Alex Barros, who was a youngster then. I don't think he'd drunk before that night, banging his head against a tree. And I had to say, "What are you doing?" And he really didn't know what he was doing. It just reminded me. It reminded me of that end of season party. It was Wayne Gardner's retirement. Mick Doohan had just lost the World Championship. We got a hotel on the outskirts of Johannesburg, said we wanted a quiet, I think he thought it was a 50th birthday party. Well, Kevin Swanson, Randy Mamola, as always.
Oh, dear God.
Got the fire hydrant out, and then all the furniture in the room was going haywire. Then everybody ended up in the fountain. It was chaos. And then Alex Barros, I remember going back to the hotel the next day, going up to find the manager and said, "I'm really sorry what happened." He said, "This is the best thing that's happened in this hotel since I've ever been here." We never went back to Kailami. I tell you,
I wonder why.
Well, yeah, but it was such a shame. But yeah, Alex Barros, and as I say, very, very underrated indeed. And
I completely agree.
2-stroke and 4-stroke.
All classes. One of the
he won on a 2-stroke and one on a 4-stroke and one on a Suzuki and one on a Honda. Yeah. And I think he rode a Yamaha and a Kajiva as well, didn't he?
And a Suzuki.
Point. Yeah, he won on the Suzuki, I think.
Oh, sorry, you said that was alongside Ron, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he is also such a nice guy.
Oh, nicest guy. Was doing the media work for the Zito Ponds, the West sponsored Zito Ponds team then, and I dealt with him and Loris Caparossi. And tell you what, after dealing with dear old Mick and Wayne, Rothman's on the team. It was a fair bit easier, but yeah, really, really nice guy.
I had to interview Barros once in Brazil for the Eurosport World Feed. We had like a 3-minute window where we could get and he'd been when he was in Japan, I think, in the World Cup was on, I think.
Oh yeah.
And TV Globo had invited him to turn up and sit in the director's box. Which he did, wearing his Brazil national kit. Not a suit, he gleefully told me. But I thought, there's a bloke I can relate to, nice man.
Yeah, and it's good to see Brazil back on the calendar and Brazilian riders coming in. South America, very, very important market for many, many reasons. But yeah, back to Malaysia. First time MotoGP went in 1991 to Shah Alam. And I tell you what, it was a bit of an adventure for everybody. I'd never been to Malaysia. When we arrived at the circuit, Dennis was there. I think Dennis was doing the press office. and he told me when they arrived, they'd find a python asleep in the ceiling of the press centre, which didn't. So I never went in the press centre for the rest of the days. There was a certain corner, I want to forget what number, it was called the Snake Corner, and if anybody crashed there, they had to get themselves out because the marshals wouldn't go in and pull them out. It was okay. And the other thing I found out, facilities were basic, flushing loos, because I found a great delight with Malaysian food, which didn't totally agree with me, and I spent a whole day. Oh my! I never forget. I ended up in the medical centre having an injection in my backside. I remember, much to the delight of the lot of riders who were in there for much more serious reasons. But Shah Alam, brilliant place. And I remember 93 was the last time I went, and Nobuatsu Aoki won the 250cc race. Another lovely guy riding for the Rothmans Honda team. And I had to conduct a press conference in a filling station, a petrol station, without any microphones. It's funny how you just remember things, isn't it? Then we went to Sepang. I think I went to Sepang in 99 with Formula One, but then went in 2000. And what struck me, Jules, and I know it did you, was there was just nobody there, was there? There was nobody there at the race.
First year we were there, I think Petronas packed a tiny part of the grandstand with employees.
Yeah.
And I saw a newspaper the next day, and it had been photoshopped. So that bunch of employees was multiplied about 35 times to make it look like the grandstand was full. It was, but it didn't take long, did it? Razlan, the guy who ran the circuit, later ran the Petronas Yamaha team, what a clever operator.
Well, I think, and what other circuits are learning, a MotoGP audience is not a Formula One audience.
Yes.
And the prices that Formula One people are prepared to pay, and I look at the prices for Silverstone, for instance, for a day ticket at the moment, you're talking £200-300, aren't you? Even now.
But they can fill it, so there you go.
Don't blame them. No. But MotoGP people won't pay that sort of money. But he realised, as Formula One really stopped to drop away in Sepang, and in fact doesn't go to Sepang anymore. It was called the Sepang Formula One circuit, and it's gone. And he filled it because he knew that one how to promote it, knew what the prices should be, and just everything about it, and it turned into this amazing venue.
He refused to be extorted by the then F1 management. Basically, he hadn't got much. He had, sort of not direct government support, but nationalised industry support through Petronas. So you can argue that.
Yeah.
But he didn't have the, the Gulf State golden tap.
Yeah.
That he could turn on for the benefit of F1. So, and as you say, he made a very sensible commercial decision to can F1. Sensible but brave, to put it mildly.
Very brave indeed, yeah.
And then invested in Moto Grand Prix and Malaysian teams, the path to wild card domestic championships.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Way before Asia Talent Cup or anything.
Yeah.
The Razvan Razali is in many ways a visionary on how to develop Moto Grand Prix in a new territory.
And now the place is jam-packed. And the whole, you arrive at the airport, it's everywhere. You go to the railway station, it's everywhere. You go in the town, there's parades going on, and because there's quite a few motorcycles in Kuala Lumpur, isn't there?
And the factories, in Indonesia and Malaysia sell how many million a year?
Oh, millions.
And the crowd, yes, there are tourists.
Yeah.
Australia's an 8-hour flight, so it's
you get a lot of Australians there, don't you? Yeah.
It's not next door, but it's close by the standards of Australia.
Yeah.
You get a good few Aussies.
Yeah.
But overwhelmingly, it is local fans.
Yeah, it is, and they are very knowledgeable, very passionate, and just fantastic.
I think it was a couple of years. I went the first time in 2000, as you were saying.
Yeah.
And a few years later, I remember you went through the tunnel from the paddock under the track,
That's it.
and
Yeah.
up into the concourse between the two straights to get to the
Yeah.
commentary box.
That, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I came out of the tunnel, and there was a lady walking towards me, wearing a sari that I suspect costs more than my car by the look of her, and her fashionable haircut with the shades, towing about 4 or 5 kids, little primary school age, all of whom were wearing number 46 merch.
Of course, he was the
I thought, right,
he was the king there.
yeah. Went and sat down in the commentary box, and you had the stand going down in front of you.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, but it always reminded me a bit of Barcelona, that big hut where you sat right at the top there.
Yeah. And the garage door for number 46 opened opposite me in pit lane, and two very expensively, as in heels and designer jeans and headscarves.
Yeah.
Two girls leapt up, waving number 46 flags, and nearly lost their designer shades. And I thought, Valentino's probably got all the bases covered, hasn't he? Every race we went to then was a home race for Valentino, even places that you wouldn't suspect. China for the first time. The hotel we checked into for the media, obviously, communist China, you don't go where you want, you go where you're put. And the translator waiting for us was a very earnest young language student.
Yeah. They were quite earnest, weren't they?
Very earnest. She said, is Mr. Rossi coming to this hotel? Yep. That's when you know you've got cut through.
Yeah. I mean, so some great races there. And we talked at length, and we might even go back a little bit to it. 10 years. It was 10 years ago, the famous press conference, Rossi and Marquez, and then the race, the repercussions that followed, Rossi losing the World Championship to Lorenzo and everything else. But there's great memories, but there's one memory that, will always be in my mind, and it was 2011 and Marco Simoncelli. It's something we spoke about it earlier, actually. Without a doubt, any job I've had to do in my whole life, that hour was the toughest and most demanding hour I've ever had it in my working life.
Yes, but I was back in London commentating for Eurosport.
Oh God,
live.
In some ways, even worse.
And you just everything you've been told to do, your correct journalistic attitudes kick in.
Yeah,
which is mainly,
they've got to.
Yeah, which is basically keep your mouth shut until you've got a fact or two.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
it is all you can do.
Yeah.
And in our case, I think we, myself and Toby Moody, we had to mutter on for a while until somebody decided they'd stick a replay of an earlier race or something.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was there with Gavin Emmett in our little box behind the podium with Ben Spies. Ben Spies had come to do the commentary. And as always, it's the third race of a long time away from home. We were full of beans, looking forward to going home. We'd had a great time in Malaysia, and the race started, and then immediately we realised, as I'm sure you and Toby did, something very serious had happened, and there was no pictures, and that's always a bad sign. And then we just had to fill, explaining to everybody what was going on, that there had been a serious accident. We don't know the outcome as soon as we have any news and everything else. And then Ben Spies' phone rang, and he was summoned back to the Yamaha garage. And all the time we are getting nothing through our headphones. What is going on? The crowd were getting very restless.
Oh, the crowd,
and the plastic bottle had got thrown on the track and everything. But then it's the pictures I'll never forget. Suddenly it switched to pit lane. Carmelo Espeleta went to every rider that was in that race and whispered in their ear.
Yeah.
And then I think both me and Gavin realised what we probably thought, but realised that we still had to wait. Like you and Toby, we still had to wait. Filling. What can you say in those circumstances? And then Frine, press officer for Dorna, suddenly I got one message: he's gone. That's what she said. He's gone, and then then we knew, and Yeah.
I mean,
like Eurosport, a very dignified end to the program and everything else, and then having to go into an absolute distraught press room after the race was horrendous, and then you had to, in these terrible circumstances, and sadly I'd been involved before, have to have the obligatory press conference where the clerk of the course, the medical officer, and people come and explain what has happened, and it is, yeah. But as you said, Jules, one, being involved in the sport as long as we have, it's not a new experience. Sadly, people dying, actually seeing it in front of you and it happening live and having to hang on was never happened to me before. But you do get, and it go way back in 1977. My great friend was a guy called Mick Patrick, who was a runner-up in the British Championship and was running in the Motorcycle News British Superbike Championship. Mick rang me up. I was doing motocross and Motorcycle News at the time. Could I come to Snetterton with him? I had a weekend off, to be honest. Snetterton, sorry, Cabell Park. I'd have a weekend off. And I said, no, Mick, I'm going to have a weekend off. I'll be travelling around and everything. When I was there, the phone rang in the Bear and Ragged Staff, of course, on a Sunday night. And it was Colin Fenton, my good friend, telling me that Mick had been killed at Cabell Park. So I was in bits. And Colin, I'll never forget, he said, in respect and in a professional way, you come into Radio Oxford now and you do this job properly. That's how you respect somebody. One, he was a friend, but somebody like Marco Simoncelli, who I got on very well with, what you wouldn't call a friend. And I always followed those principles. Dear old Colin, very good motorcycle racer, good at the Manx Grand Prix. Every city had a Colin Fenton, didn't they? He knew every bar, he knew everybody on the council, he knew everybody. And it was rumoured that Colin was the first man at Leatherslade Farm for the great train robbers. He got there before the police got there, because he'd been in the Conservative Club in Oxford, and somebody had said, there's something funny going on at that Leatherslade Farm in Brill, you ought to go and have a look. He went in, he was the first, and there was rumour that the police actually arrested him. They thought it was one of the train robbers. He also said to me, always keep at least 20 50 pence piece of, well, it wasn't 50 then, whatever it was then, for the telephone.
Now there's a proper journalist.
Yeah, he was absolutely a proper journalist. And I remember when Barry Sheen crashed Silverstone, John Brown and I were the only two journalists there. It was in practice. And there was two phone boxes there. He went in one, I went in the other, and we phoned every national newspaper, every radio, everything we could think of. But we had those coins in our pocket. And dear old Colin had really helped me then. The only other time, in different circumstances, but unbelievable, was when Ayrton Senna was killed in 1994.
Well, you were heavily involved in that team.
At Imola. I was the media manager for the Rothmans Williams team, and I had to deal with so much. But I felt guilty afterwards, to be honest with you, Julian, because I was so involved, sat in my little office in the bus, in the Imola paddock till 2 or 3 in the morning, speaking to every radio station in the world, dealing with it. I was not on a high, but I was in a totally different world.
Yes.
Completely different. I wasn't sad. I wasn't thinking of Ayrton Senna and everything else. I remember I did BBC World Service, and I came on, and the woman said to me, now you remember, speak solemnly, because this is the biggest sporting story of the last decade for their news item. Yeah, which isn't the way I usually spoke, to be honest.
Indeed.
And it's only when I got home, I sat in my little office and I had all the newspapers there in front of me about Senna, I realised what had happened, and I did feel, just a little bit of guilt, because I was so in the bubble. But Colin, and it was so true with Marco Simoncelli, taught me, and I know you've been taught the same way for exactly what you just said, that there is a way of doing things, and the best way to respect somebody is to give them a proper, not send off, but do things properly.
It's to do your
correctly.
job.
That's exactly
Simple.
right. Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You know, no one wants to hear you wailing and gnashing your teeth. They want, you are there to do a job, which is not to add to the disinformation that is flying around, and stick to the couple of facts that you actually know.
Dead right.
That's it.
Disinformation is, it's so bad, isn't it? And again, I'm sure being in London must have been even more difficult when the Simoncelli accident.
It was. I can't remember how long we were.
It was about,
but it was a good while.
40. It was a good 45 minutes, I think.
It was. You know, what can you say? It is something that if you're going to call yourself a journalist or a commentator, you have to be prepared.
Yeah.
You describe great triumphs and moments of joy. You must also understand that you have to describe moments of tragedy.
Yeah, you do.
Great and small.
And not get too personal. I'd spoken to Marco Simoncelli that morning, the afternoon before. He finished second in Australia, didn't he?
That's right.
Just the week before.
Best result.
I remember Marco telling me that I'm going to win a race soon, and this could be the race. And what a great guy. Bubbly, big hair, big humour, big everything. When he was fantastic.
Yeah. I always remember that Valentino again saying that you lot should. Somebody was accusing him of riding rough. I think you wait till Simoncelli gets here. He is effing big and he's effing aggressive. Yeah. And he was, and he rode like sometimes he rode like the school bully. A phrase Dennis used about him. Yeah. Knocking Pedrosa off at Le Mans was completely unnecessary and daft. And I saw him coming out of the Honda truck, still in his leathers, about 3 hours after the race. You know, Livio and Co. and Livio Supo, the Honda team manager then, had been telling him his fortune for a long time. But he was a man who it was impossible not to like.
Yeah, and he ruffled a few feathers, didn't he? I remember one press conference. I don't think it was in Malaysia with Jorge Lorenzo was
Portugal.
Absolutely had enough, and he said then he went on and on and on about him, and Marco just sat there, and then he stopped. And he looked up and he said, "What are you going to do then? Call the police?" He said, I know.
And the trouble is then, of course, we all laughed.
Yeah, but that was made the whole game even angrier.
Jorge's face.
We thought it was funny, didn't we? Yeah.
Oh dear me.
Yeah.
That was yes, that was all these things that are memorable, sometimes for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But Malaysia's a great place. You know, back to what you were saying earlier, it's a wonderful track. You can commute in and out quite easily from Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah.
And people are lovely. The food is wonderful. What's not to like, frankly?
Yeah, and the airport is 10 miles away, even if it's that far.
It's not that far.
No. When we first went there, the airport wasn't there. It was somewhere else.
Yes.
More in the centre of Kuala Lumpur, I remember, quite near the circuit. But I think once there'd been a big... it all goes into it. I just remember Shah Alam, Yeah.
No, the Sepang circuit and airport were all part of the great tiger economy boom in that part.
Yeah, they were, weren't they? Yeah. What a city to visit, Kuala Lumpur. Absolutely
fantastic place.
Brilliant place. The street markets, the food.
Yeah.
And the hotel we used to stay at near the airport. You could go on they had like the what's it called? Not the Paddington Express, the one that goes, the Heathrow Express that goes to Paddington. It was like that, but we used to get it and, oh my God, we had some good fun with the likes of the game with Jeremy McWilliams, Van der Gerberg, Randy, was to run up the escalators the wrong way in the airport. And they used to get me to try and do it. And they used to cry laughing when I used to come back down on my backside. Super. And 2 more races after that, Portugal and Valencia. I mean, it's a long season, isn't it?
It's too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, You know, I always think a gentleman should not be leaving a racetrack in the dark. You know, it's not right.
Especially me, who can't see a thing in the dark.
Yes, I'm catching you up. It just feels, especially since the championship was over a month ago.
Yeah.
You know,
and the weather even. I mean, I know they're going to Portugal. They're going to Valencia. Can be pretty chilly in November.
Portugal, it's the Atlantic coast.
Yeah.
Near as damn it. You know, just around the corner from the Atlantic. It's not. It's not guaranteed sunshine at all.
No, it's not. And Valencia is always a great event, being the final round. And then, of course, you blink. 2026 is on the way and you have the test, and that's always interesting, isn't it? You don't learn a lot, but it's just seeing somebody not on the bike they used to be. I mean, I remember when Rossi obviously switched to Ducati, it was massive, and then Marquez to Ducati.
Marquez this year, from what Dennis said, don't expect him to race, and I'm with Dennis here, but Ducati will want him to test. That I'm pretty sure of.
We will wait and see. It's always a very interesting weekend. A lot of celebrations, final race of the season, big party. Not quite Kailami style, I don't think, but there we go. And then the test. It must be the only sport in the world where the 2026 season, the next season, starts 2 days after the last season has ended. But then time for the riders to have a break, and everybody else, and I think they fully deserve it. It's been some season, but we're back next week, of course, and we will reflect on the racing in Malaysia in all three classes, because there may be a new world champion crowned in Moto2, although that could well go down to those last two races. But always interesting in Malaysia. But don't forget, World Superbike questions for the two men that know more about World Superbikes in their little fingers than I know at all. Julian, who's in front of us, of course, those halcyon days of Cole Fogarty, Colin Edwards, everybody else. And then Mr. World Superbike now, Greg Haynes, who will be telling us that Toprak will be the MotoGP World Champion next year. I'm certain of that. Looking forward to it. Have a good weekend, Jules, and see you next week.
See you next week.